morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mesa City Council study session for Thursday, November the 12th. I can see from the Zoom screen that all of our council is present today. Welcome, council. The first item on our agenda for this meeting is to hear a presentation, discuss, and provide direction on the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis and Tempe Mesa Streetcar Feasibility Study. Mr. Brady, I'm sure you've got some great staff folks there ready to...
Mayor, would you like to review the agenda first, or would you like, we can go either way.
Oh, you're right. Item number 1 is to review the items on the agenda for the Monday morning, for the Monday afternoon meeting. Skipped right over that. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's do that. Council, do you know right now if there's anything on Monday's agenda that you would like some additional information on? Yes, Councilmember Duff.
Yes, there are a couple of things that a constituent had asked me about, so I just want to get more information on. It is 5G, about the purchase of the natural gas supplies in our contracts, and 5H, about the insurance, whether it's an additional insurance or it's just replacement.
All right, have Frank McCray come forward and respond to 5G. Was there something specific about this item, council member?
It's just over the strategy of purchasing, looking at a 2 to 5 year contract instead of more short term. The more I read about it, I understand that, we are at an all-time low for gas supplies, but I just want to learn a little bit more of the strategy so I can talk more intelligently to a constituent.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Frank McCray with the Energy Resources Department. So the way we build our portfolio for natural gas supplies is we blend some fixed price contracts over the short term, as well as index-based prices. So our suppliers go out for whatever remaining gas supply we need after the fixed price contracts, if we have those. And then those are based upon the moving market indices. So we build a portfolio of our gas supply so that the costs are minimized. We very seldom actually have a fixed price contract for more than a year or two. Typically, it's a 2-year contract with 1-year renewals of up to 3 times. So we're not obligating the city to purchase all of our gas for 5 years with one of these contracts. In terms of gas supply, we're not seeing a large degradation into the supply, at least as the way it would be reflected into the price of gas that we pay. So there seems to be plenty of gas supply from the panhandle of Texas and the Four Corners region. So our costs have been very stabilized. We've compared our costs to other utilities in Arizona, both gas and electric, because electric utilities burn a lot of gas for generating electricity, and our gas supply costs are lower than theirs.
Great. I think that's a better understanding for me to understand in more depth about our purchases of the gas.
Great.
And if there's any specific questions that we can help answer, we'd be more than happy to provide that information.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Council, other questions regarding Monday's agenda?
Mayor, I think we're going to address 5H. Jim will, I think that was the second part. Is that right, Councilmember Duff?
Yes, 5H as well. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor and Councilmember Duff. So every year we obtain insurance for the city for the PPL Trust. This is both the property insurance and liability insurance, and it also includes insurance for the airport. It's been a very challenging year to get insurance for municipalities nationwide, as you might guess. Let me go back to just sort of a brief history on the insurance and how we've done it. When I became city attorney, we changed the process slightly, and we started getting insurance and a resolution through council that if we had a 3% increase, we would renew the insurance and not come back to council. And we utilized that 3% concept in order to keep the rates down. And we did that for several years. We knew the markets were going to increase, so about a year ago we went to a 5% concept. But due to a number of issues within our country, 5%, the markets are increasing dramatically more than 5%, as you might guess, within both liability, but also even within property. We use a national broker in order to obtain this insurance. It's been extraordinarily difficult this year. We'll have a council report to you later today. You will see that we're still in the process. Even yesterday, we were getting the excess coverage, the layers. We're still obtaining those insurance layers as we still speak. The resolution that will be authorized Monday will enable us to continue to get that insurance. We'll be able to get what's considered the full stack of insurance before November 21st. That's when our insurance, we need to renew it. And then you'll see that we've gone to a different concept in this resolution, that you'll authorize us to get the insurance obviously for this year, but also to get insurance for next year. And then we'll go back to sort of the 5% concept that we utilized in the past. We're hoping for this coming up fiscal year and calendar year that we'll obtain the insurance throughout the year and try to take advantage of renewals as we can, as opposed to trying to renew all of the property and liability insurance in November, so that we don't have sort of the stress of both obtaining the insurance, but also sort of the market conditions. And we'll try to utilize sort of obtaining insurance at different times throughout the year. And that's sort of the concept we intend to use for this next year. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you. So we're not obtaining additional or increasing our amount of insurance. This is just a renewal and it having automatic renewal of up to 5% on the policy increases in an automatic manner.
So let me also just say, so it's unlike, so getting insurance in this manner is not like getting your home or auto insurance. They won't give you insurance for more than a year. They won't give you automatic renewals. The sort of the coverage, the liability in their analysis is much more significant and it's much more individualized. You end up creating a relationship with both the broker and the market. You end up meeting many times with them. They ask for tremendous amounts of information before they will underwrite a municipality. And so the process, so it's not just sort of an automatic, renewal. And so we're getting new insurance every year. Every single year we have to get new coverage. And so for this year, we'll get the insurance. And for next year, we will sort of try to pick up insurance throughout the year instead of just trying to do it in November. And then the following year, so 2 years from now, we'll go back to the 5% concept, because the markets really for this next year are going to also be challenging markets. To give you a sense, the rate increases we're seeing are in the 20% and more type of level of increases year over year. We're aware of one municipality that was not able to get its full stack of excess coverage that it intended to get. It's not just simply paying money, it's actually even being able to get the insurance that's become difficult.
So does this insurance include public safety liability?
Yes, it does. That is obviously one of the areas. That's, what drives the difficulty.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor, we have.
Sorry, Mr. Frank.
I'm sorry, I just to share with you, we do have staff prepared to make presentations on 4M and 5B. So when you're ready for those, let us know, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brady. I believe Mr. Freeman also has a question about Monday's agenda.
Yeah, I just want to applaud staff in working together with Visit Mesa. I think it's 5D, Mr. Brady, is that correct?
5B, and yes, and if you'd like, we Natalie come up and give more details, but otherwise, yes, it's an agreement that both sides have, I think we've come to a good agreement that we've changed from years past.
I'd like to hear that if it's okay, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Thank you for asking the question. We're also very excited about this new agreement. So this is an agreement between the City of Mesa and Visit Mesa. And as you know, the state collects our transit lodging taxes. Some people refer to them as bed taxes. Those come to the City of Mesa, and then we have an agreement for how we split those dollars between the city and Visit Mesa. The city uses these dollars and invests them for spring training, the Mesa Convention Center, its upkeep and needs, and other things like arts and culture, other activities that bring visitors to Mesa. And then Visit Mesa focuses on filling up our hotel rooms. So this agreement hasn't been completely changed for probably a couple of decades. And so what we did is we just really took a holistic look together when we were working with Visit Mesa. So we're proposing right now a 5-year agreement with them. This is all about the destination marketing and the tourism activities that I just talked about. And there are 3 primary updates that we've done. The first one is a slightly new funding model. We are going to be taking the actual collections for the full 5% the taxes that come to the city, and we're going to take those and split those by percentages over the next 5 years. The first 2 years, we're going to keep the percentages the same as they are today because we want to make sure that the market recovers and that we are not hurting Visit Mesa in this approach. But by year 5, what we're doing is we're taking the percentage split from about 55% to, 45% to a 50-50 split. And what this will do is provide a little bit more dollars to the city to get, and put towards our spring training facilities. The second thing is we went through an internal audit, which was very helpful, and we're going to do a couple of things for that, and that is we're clarifying our communications between our 2 staff members, and I think that's going to be very good and productive. And the third thing is really about performance metrics. The city has been and taken some time to really clarify what would be valuable to us and helpful to us so that we really understand the impact that Visit Mesa brings to our city. So those are the major updates, and I understand from Mark Garcia, who, by the way, is on the phone if there's any questions for him, that the board unanimously approved this by Visit Mesa, and the staff team that has worked on this also recommends approval. And so with that, if there are any other questions, that's the overview.
Thank you, Natalie. Council, any questions regarding the Visit Mesa agreement? Mr.
Mayor, yeah, I'll just add on. Thank you, Natalie and Visit Mesa, Mark Garcia and the board. I know having a firm action plan for 5 years is extremely important for Visit Mesa and to help with our tourism in our city. I don't think our residents really understand how important Visit Mesa is for our community and leveraging those dollars towards our convention center as well as our spring training activities. So, with the split of the monies, I find that very helpful for not only us as a council, but future councils as well. And then especially setting a committees to work together is important for funding mechanism, but also so people know that we're working together. But again, I appreciate Mark Garcia and his staff working with our staff and putting this together. And I look forward to the outcome. And, we're going to grow as a city. More hotel space is going to be put in and others. And so the revenue streams hopefully will increase as well, not only for us as a city to invest in our spring training facilities and convention center, but as well as for Visit Mesa. So again, thank you, Natalie and staff, for putting it together.
I'll just say amen to the Vice Mayor's comments. I know I think most of us have talked with Mark Garcia and know this is an agreement that's well received on their end, and I think we're doing a better job of kind of cleaning up some of the way we account for the facilities in our city, the convention center and other things that I think should be receiving a larger portion of these dollars will be, and I think that just more accurately, that's what this money should be used for. So I think that it's an improved agreement. So thank you, Natalie, and thank you to Visit Mesa for coming together to have a better agreement. Council, any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Brady, I believe you have another staff presentation. Is it on 4M?
Correct, Mayor, thank you. So we'll have Jeff McVeigh coming forward.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Jeff McVeigh with the Manager of Downtown Transformation. On your Monday agenda, 4M is GMP number 4, which is the fourth and last GMP for the Mesa City Center projects that included ASU and, and the Plaza at Mesa City Center. This is the only GMP for the Plaza construction project. And before we had you act on it, we wanted to give you an overview of what the Plaza is going to include. So this gives you a nice site plan overview of the layout, which includes a large lawn that will be programmable and passive recreation space, an interactive water feature, a plaza building that's going to include restrooms, storage space, infrastructure for the seasonal ice skating rink, as well as the water feature, as well as some storage space that can be used for the seasonal ice skating rink, essentially ice skating, skate rental. We also have the skating plaza and a signature shade structure, which I'm going to talk a bit more about later in the presentation. Now, going through each of the elements, the interactive water feature is one of the key elements that we heard from not only council, but from our stakeholders as well that they wanted to see in the plaza. Now, I describe this as a hybrid between a fountain and a full-on splash pad. The intent is really for this to be more of something that people sit and interact with visually, but if you do so desire and you have the want, and you can interact and get wet and enjoy yourself and bring your kids over to have fun. In addition, we have that large lawn space that is going to be for programmable recreation, but it's also nice for interactive or passive recreation. Earlier this week on Tuesday, we had some demonstrations of the large screen vendors that were on site for the side of the ASU building. And we got to see what it's going to look like, and it's going to be really interesting to be able to sit on that lawn and look at a 30 by 70 high resolution screen and be able to watch the content that comes out of this building and the movies that come with it. If you know, once this is constructed and you come to me, I'll let you know exactly the perfect spot on that lawn, because it is a raised elevation where the high point of that lawn is going to be the perfect viewing spot for that screen. Another of the key elements, one of the number one elements that was requested by our community as well as by council members was a seasonal ice skating rink. So with this plaza construction, we will take what normally is a temporary ice rink, which is currently under construction right now, and be able to put in the infrastructure so that it can be much more seamlessly, much more aesthetically pleasingly installed. All they really have to do is come in and put in the dasher boards. I almost forget what those are. The dasher boards that go around it, put in the sand and the tubes, and we'll be able to freeze it much more efficiently than we do today. Now, what that does also create, though, is a large open concrete area that gives us a lot of opportunity for programming event space, both in the day and the evening. However, it is a large and open concrete space, so shade becomes very important. And as a key element of our design is to try and create a significant shade element that not only is aesthetically attractive, that's going to draw people into the site, but it's also going to create enough shade to be able to program the space both during the day and at night to incorporate as much light and interactivity as we can with that shade structure, so it is also another beacon to bring into the site. So with all those elements together, this gives you a nice overview of the plaza together with that signature shade element. Now, we have worked very hard over the past year on our design and our budget to be able to deliver all of these key program elements. However, we were only able to accommodate a portion of the cost of that signature shade element, and today's GMP that we're presenting to you at just below $6.7 million does represent a $481,000 increase to the overall construction budget for the plaza. We have worked through this, and we have made significant value engineering decisions and cuts to the plaza to be able to bring it to you at this date or at this level. However, any increase or any decrease to this would impact at least one of our key program elements, whether it be the water feature or the skating rink or the signature shade element. So with that, council, quick overview. I'm happy to entertain any discussion.
Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. Council, questions on this item? Thank you. Let's begin with Mr. Freeman and then Councilmember Duff.
Jeff, what's our construction timestamp for these projects here? I know the building is, I'm surprised every time I go every week. The ASU building is just phenomenal. So what's the time frame for this one in coordination with the completion of the building?
Sure. Mayor, Vice Mayor, timeline for the plaza construction. Construction would start in January of 2021, essentially as soon as Mary Main Street ends and the temporary ice skating rink is done, we'll start construction. And then this construction will be completed by November of 2021 so that it's ready for Mary Main Street and the first use of that seasonal ice skating rink.
Okay, so the additional monies that you're requesting for the plaza, is this going to be it?
That is it. This is the only GMP for the plaza, Vice Mayor.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Duff.
Yes, thank you. First of all, Jeff, if you could share with us, and especially for our viewers, the GMP and what it stands for.
Sure. Mayor, Councilmember Duff, GMP is guaranteed maximum price. So that is the guaranteed price that our contractor, our construction manager at risk is guaranteeing to us, and they cannot exceed that price once it's under contract.
And this overage is due to incorporating the shade structure, right?
That is correct, Councilmember. We were able to accommodate within budget all of the key elements, including the lawn, the water feature, and the skating plaza. It was when we went to include the shade structure that the budget could no longer accommodate. We were able to accommodate a significant portion of the shade structure's cost within the existing budget. It's just we were able to incorporate the entire cost.
Well, I do love the design of the shade structure. I really think it makes a wow statement in that space. I was concerned about that opening. At first, I thought it was a water feature out where the skating rink was going to be and found out it was just concrete. It makes it an unattractive or unusable part of the park most part of the year because of our temperatures. So with the shade structure creating an artistic element, an element of interest, especially at night with it lit up, it's an attraction. So it's more than just simply shade. And I really like this. I've grew up in Mesa, and downtown Mesa was the place to gather when I was growing up. And since then, it hasn't been, and we've had some great businesses and the art center and all these incremental things that are bringing people together. But this park is truly a gathering space where we can all be together, and having these elements will just last for generations. And again, create that energy in downtown of just being a place you want to be, a place to gather. You don't have to be in a arts facility or in a restaurant or a store. You can just simply be there. And as we found through this virus, just having outdoor spaces that we can enjoy when we're limited and where we can be and where we feel comfortable, I think it will be well received. And I appreciate all the design work that's gone into this, and I'm supportive of the additional cost. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say amen to what Mr. Freeman and Councilmember Duff just shared. I happened to be walking out the door a couple of days ago when the contractors were testing the two prototype screens, and I got to tell you, this park is really going to be a loved asset by our community. The addition of technology, in a park, and the ability to have all of the access, all of the fun types of activities that screen's going to accommodate is really amazing. And the idea of putting the lighted shade structure that's beautiful is a brilliant addition to this proposal. I think we've seen in a lot of other cities, there's iconic structures that are lit, for special occasions, bridges and iconic buildings. This will be that element in our community, as well as the concrete pad that doubles as an ice rink and as a water feature. But I think maybe even more significantly will be just a plaza. It'll be where a lot of wonderful events are held, during under shade. So I think this will become kind of the postcard photograph of the city of Mesa. And when people think about the city of Mesa, in addition to some wonderful features like the Mesa Arts Center, this will be what people think of. So we're creating a space that, as was mentioned, for generations, I think people will identify as a gathering spot at the city of Mesa. So, so I'm very supportive as well. Yes, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I like the concept. My concern is how do we keep this from becoming the new hangout spot for the homeless folks? You know, coming out of the parks, taking over the city plaza. I mean, we have a shade structure. We're going to have a splash pad for the better use of a term. How do we ensure that our citizens will have access to this and it won't be overtaken like our parks have become overtaken by homeless?
Well, I know it was a week ago today, we had our, Natalie presented the strategic homeless plan, and certainly making our parks family friendly is a priority for all of us. I'm anxious to hear what staff has to say, but I'm sure homeless people will be in this park. Homeless people are part of the public. And, but I think activating parks is the answer. And I think this space is going to be very active between ASU's use of the facility and our programming it. I think it's going to be hard to probably get a slot to use this park. It's going to be programmed so much. But I think it is going to be very active, but I fully expect that there'll be homeless people in this park. But I don't think it will be overrun by homeless people.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll just, I think that's a great way to say it. I mean, we don't enforce homelessness. Homelessness is a condition that we don't enforce. We enforce the laws. If someone is trespassing or doing something, a behavior that is unacceptable, but being homeless is not the crime. And so if there's individuals here in the park that are sitting on a bench that, you know, we're not going to enforce anything there. But the good news is we do have a police officer here in Municipal Plaza who parks over there, who has a presence in the plaza area even today, is walking around. And we've had occasion where we might have had a disturbance by an individual, and because he's right here on the campus, he's been able to quickly address that. We will be, as part of the plaza, we've identified additional resources in the budget. It was anticipated that additional individuals, park rangers or others, there'll be additional security in this area, not only for the plaza, but for the ASU facility. So that's already been identified as something that will be added on as we bring these facilities on. So we believe even right now today we have a police officer on the site so that they're nearby and often go out and walk this area. So we think we'll be able to manage any criminal behavior that's taking place here.
Mr. Luna.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you letting me speak. I wish I was 40 years younger and going to ASU. Can you imagine a student who develops a product? And I see Mr. Heredia smiling because he's always making fun of me. But anyway, can you imagine a student going to ASU and showcasing your presentations and your video on this large screen? It's going to be the first one in the country. So this is really exciting. Or if you're a gamer and you bring your game and you want to play a game with the whole community, you'll have that ability. So this is really, really exciting. So I can hardly wait till we get this going, and seeing a lot of young people engaging in and having this wide screen and engaging in gaming, as well as watching their video presentations. So I'm really excited about it.
I just want to say that this last week, when we've had the exhibit out on Main Street with the pumpkins, I know a lot of folks in the community and on council have been out on our Main Street, and even in the midst of a pandemic, which I thought we handled that very well. It was appropriate. People were masked, and it was an outdoor activity. But we have a cool downtown, and this is really just going to elevate that. And on a regular basis, there, you know, on most nights, there's going to be really cool things going on in this park. Programming it is going to be the challenge. I mean, saying no to all the people that want to use this is going to be the challenge. We're all very excited about ASU, but I think frankly, what the community is going to get out of this, that there is going to leave a mark, is this park. It's really just going to elevate our downtown tremendously. So I'm very excited about it, if you can't tell. Thank you. Other comments on this agenda item?
Mayor, I just have one, please.
Yes, Mr. Freeman.
I think Mr. Brady and Natalie, we're working on some ordinance changes for parks. I think you're continuing with that so that we kind of fine tune some of the, we'll use the word enforcement capabilities for protecting our parks for our residents in our community. So I just urge you to move forward with that so we can support you. Thank you.
Thank you. But Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're still at the microphone or in earshot, but I think last Thursday when we had the presentation on the strategic homeless plan, you indicated probably right after the first of the year is when we'll be looking at some proposed ordinance changes regarding park usage and providing social services or other things in the parks. Is that correct?
Mayor or Council, I can answer yes. The first of the year is the intent to bring that ordinance.
Thank you. Council, any other questions regarding Monday's agenda? Mr. Brady, any additional staff presentations regarding Monday's agenda?
No, Mayor, I just want to be clear so that council is aware of kind of the confines or restrictions we have. Obviously, we've talked about this several times, but I just want to make the point that we do have the items related to the utility rates, and as such, they are listed here and presumed based on what staff presented to council. Certainly, council can change or make any adjustments, which is fine, but we would just need to do that today in order to post that so that it's that's what's listed on for the agenda on Monday. So if we make it a change after today, we can. We just have to go back and restart this process again in noticing. So I just want to be clear that right now what's presumed is what we presented to the council a couple of weeks ago or whenever we made that last presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. And this is essentially a 1.5% increase on water rates.
For residential, that's correct, for residential.
Council, any response? So again, Mr. Brady, just so the public knows, we do have to give notice of any utility rate adjustments. This has been on our agenda a couple of times. Monday is when we would take this action, and then it would become effective 30 or 60 days later. Is that correct?
Mayor, so I know this seems like we've been doing this over and over again, but this is, as you notice under the agenda, this is the introduction of the ordinance. And so that's what'll happen on Monday, November 16th. And then the final action would be December 1st.
December 1st is when the public hearing would be.
Yeah.
Correct, okay. So the item on our agenda for Monday is item 8. That's setting the public hearing for December the 1st on items 8A through 8J, which is a series of utility charges.
That is correct, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Council, any other questions regarding Monday's agenda? Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman.
No, I'm sorry. I came in late. Did we discuss about a 0% water rate residential increase? Just on the water side?
Yeah, I'll give you my recollection. I did ask staff to prepare that as a draft, and I think it was discussed to some extent in one of our last study sessions. I don't mean to be a spoiler for Monday, but or for the hearing on Monday. The 1.5% increase that came back from staff for residential water, that is below the cost of living. And so I was concerned, and I think there probably are people in our community concerned about the idea of raising utility rates in the context of we have a lot of utility people behind on their utility bills right now, and we are dedicating millions of our CARES Act money to utility assistance, trying to help people avoid shutoffs right now. So I think certainly we need to acknowledge the inconsistency with raising rates while at the same time working very hard to help people who are obviously struggling to pay utility bills. And I do acknowledge that, and that's something we need to talk about. But what we're doing is really holding the line on residential rates to something below the cost of living. And unfortunately, it's just a reality in the context that we live in, where the cost of the commodities, the water and the electricity and the other things that we're providing and to our citizens is increasing. And if we don't have a modest, below market rate increase, it's just setting the stage for more dramatic rate increases later. So it's none of us take any joy in raising rates, but I do take pride in raising rates at less than the cost of the commodities that we're providing. So essentially, we are, in a way, reducing rates every year by subsidizing, to some extent, utility rates for the next several years. So that's my personal position on it, and I do appreciate staff showing us what it would look like if we did hold the line and took another year. It wouldn't be the end of the world if we froze rates again for another year, given the challenges that people are experiencing right now. But I think we have to move forward with I think the economy, we're all optimistic it's going to recover, and for us to be in a position to help the economy recover, we need to be strong financially as well, and that won't happen if we continue to subsidize the rates more than we are now. I'm sorry, I got on a soapbox, but that's where I think at least I'm at on that issue.
And Mayor, can I just, that was right on point, and just to give specifics to that, we did look at, I think I provided the council a couple weeks ago in an update that if we were to defer for the second year, and I might mention for the second year in a row, if we were not to raise residential water rates for the second year in a row, then the following year, we estimate that increase, at least to what we see today, would need to go up by 3.2%. So that's why we've tried to keep these very low going each year. And as the mayor said, even with these modest rate increases, we are actually drawing down on our reserves, so it is being subsidized. We are not charging the full amount to recover all of the expenditures in 1 year. We're attempting to do that over a period of time, but it does mean that in this year we will be spending more than we're bringing in. But the hope is that over a period of time, if we keep these rates very modest and keep them below the rate of inflation, that we'll be able to balance out in the next 5 years or so. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could follow up, I'm sorry to throw you under the hot seat there, but I guess one of my points I said earlier meeting is I don't want to be caught as a city like our neighboring communities raising utility rates by 12% and having to split that between 2 consecutive years. And so we do understand that running a business such as our water utility department, it costs money, and we are subsidizing. I do appreciate that. But with a modest increase, we hope to defray any higher rate increases, I should say, in the future, and holding our costs as low as we can. So I appreciate staff doing that, Mr. Brady, and I do support a modest increase. Part of me says I don't want to do that, but on the business side, I just feel like we have to, knowing and seeing all the numbers. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Councilmember Duff.
I just had a quick question. The new rates, once they're decided and approved, they would go into effect, is it February 1st? If you could just please remind me of when the effective date is.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Duff, the intention has been to be effective January 1st.
Okay, January 1st. Great, thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, just one last, what do we have, if the residential rate were to increase by 1.5%, how much per month does that add to a customer's bill? Isn't it just cents? I don't.
Yeah, we have that. Hold on, just give Brian just a second. We do have that. Vice Mayor.
I just want the public to know that, hey, we get it as a council, mayor and council, but it's going to go up by this amount.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Brian Ritchell with the Office of Management and Budget. So the year-over-year difference with the 1.5% increase would be just under 60 cents. It'd be 57 cents per month increase.
And that's per residential user.
That is correct.
On the average, yeah.
On the average for the typical
Okay.
residential.
But obviously you use more, then you pay some more based on that gallon use.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Brian.
And how many gallons is that, Brian?
Average.
So the typical average homeowner right now uses 6,000 gallons per month.
6,000, okay, thank you. So 57 cents per month based on using 6,000 gallons.
Correct.
Yes, but within that service charge, so within that 6,000, 3,000 is already provided with your service charge.
Right, in the base
That doesn't
rate.
go
So
up.
that
yeah.
does not go.
That doesn't go up.
That does not go up.
Right, so if you're using 3,000 or less, then
Yeah,
you won't
Yes,
see any
you don't-
increase.
that's correct. And thank you, Councilor Duff. That's actually really helpful
Yes.
because there are several that stay below that number or at that number, and they will not see any rate increase.
Thank you. Mr. Luna, did you have a question?
No, Mayor, just a comment. We had a lengthy discussion in Audit and Finance about these rates. And I know there are just it may not make sense right now, but in the long run, I think this is a good approach. We have to do it methodically as we move forward. I think this is an intelligent way of moving. I certainly don't want to see a 3% in 2 years. If we do it slowly, I think the smart way. We do have neighboring communities that have increased their utility rates, particularly their water, significantly, and we don't want to do that to our residents. So I'm in support of this modest rate increase. I like the notion of don't use a lot of water, and certainly won't affect you as much. Certainly we want to encourage that. But yes, I'm going to be in support of this modest increase.
Thank you. Council, any other comments on this, or I'm sorry, Councilmember Duff?
Sorry, another comment again. But just to let people know that we do have utility assistance out there for anybody who needs it, as well as we did incorporate a cost savings for seniors. I think it was it 30%? Anyway, there is a new program for seniors that will also help with any utility costs.
Councilor Duff, thank you so much for bringing that up. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And as we've been going through assisting individuals with their utilities now, as we identify those who are eligible for that program, we're trying to make sure we get them signed up. But you're correct. For the seniors, low-income seniors, we're able to give them a 30% discount off the rate now. So that, I think, has been very helpful. And the good news is, Mayor and Council, our delinquencies on meters, it seems that the economy is improving, and we are seeing an improvement in payment of utility bills. So we are able to help those who need it, but we're also seeing an improvement. Certainly, it appears in the economy as people are more able to pay their bills in the last couple of months.
I know, Mr. Brady, we've tried hard to get the message out because we did have a lot, but when we put the moratorium on shutoffs, we were having delinquencies spike. And I know even prior to the pandemic rather, we were generously increasing the amount of our utility assistance fund. And that's been augmented with a tremendous amount of money, I think over $1 million, from the CARES Act funding. I think you just told us things are improved there, but can you explain a little more about that? Are we still struggling to get folks that are at risk of having their utilities shut off to take advantage of that program?
Mayor, we're not, if someone's utilities are being shut off, it's because they have not responded to multiple requests, including door hangers and, we've tried to do everything we can to identify and provide information and contact individuals. And then even after, if we've shut it off and they've not been responsive and they come in to have their utilities turn back on, we waive all the fees and we pay back, and we still pay their back utilities. But from what I've heard in the last month or so, that seems to be improving for us as far as, I mean, it's higher than normal, but it's much more improved from when we first identified the need for this program. We've seen some adjustments there. And our city staff is able to disperse the funding for the utility program, the utility assistance program with the CARES dollars, kind of under a expedited process. And as a result, they've done a wonderful job of getting the money out quickly and helping individuals. So that's been one of our success stories. Now, that's for city utilities. We're still going through New Leaf to provide the assistance they need through SRP and Southwest Gas. But for our own utilities, if there's individuals who have that need, we're able to help them quickly. And then if for whatever reason they don't respond and then we end up shutting off their utilities, and they come back in, we will restore them and we waive all the penalties and fees that go along with that. So so far it's been a very successful program. We'll try to we'll provide an update for you today on where we are with that program, but it seems to be going on very well.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll maybe get some more curiosity about that as we discuss utility rates, but also as the pandemic perhaps continues to be a challenge for folks financially. All right, Council, any other questions, additional information you would like for our meeting on Monday? All right, hearing none, we'll move on then on the agenda to item 2A, that is to hear a presentation, discuss and provide direction on the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis and Tempe Mesa Streetcar Feasibility Study. I'm guessing Jody is going to help us with this?
She is.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, Jody Sorrell, Transit Services Director. And with me up here is Darren Lozano. He is representing Valley Metro, who led the technical parts of this study. Just to kind of quick update and refresh you, the purpose of these two studies backing up about 3 years ago now, the city launched two different studies. One was a alternatives analysis for a high-capacity transit project down through the Fiesta District, and the other one was in partnership with the city of Tempe to look at extending streetcar down Rio Salado into Mesa, the Riverview area of Mesa. We started these two projects to identify potential high-capacity transit corridors that we could possibly put in a proposition for extension. So we started these early to kind of to put ourselves in a better position to have projects ready for Prop 400 extension. So keeping that in mind, keep that in mind when Darren goes through some of the recommendations and the study findings. So I'll turn it over to Darren for the technical part of the presentation.
All right, thank you, Jody. Good morning, Mayor, members of council. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you this morning on behalf of Valley Metro. So let's start here by looking at why we're looking at this study. As Jody mentioned, there's a reason because we're looking at really the growth in Mesa. This is really for a future type of investment, future study. And so when we look at the study area, and I'll show a little more about this, but we're really focusing on Western Mesa. And these facts and figures show you kind of the characteristics of this location, noting that there's going to be an increase in population, increase in employment. When we look at the travel time just within the study area alone, we see a 33% increase in just travel time and close to 100,000 additional trips just within this study area. So what this map shows you here is essentially the increase in population, looking at the entire city of Mesa. And so the years we show you are the current year in terms of population, but then also forecasting the future growth in 2040. And essentially, as you note here, when you see these darker shades of color, that's where we see the higher growth and the rate of population. So as you can see here, the population is really focused in the West Mesa area, and that yellow line that you see there is the current light rail extension. Similarly, when we look at the current employment, you see that, again, the shading turns a little darker here when you look at West Mesa, again, encompassing really the study area that we're looking at. So there are two studies that we're talking about here today. They're listed in those top two bullets on the left side, the Tempe Mesa Streetcar Feasibility Study and the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis. And if you look at the map, you can really see that these studies overlapped in terms of the study location. So the Tempe Mesa Streetcar Study was in conjunction with Tempe, but for the Mesa portion of this, we're really looking at the study area bounded by Riverview Park, the 101 to the west, Mesa Drive to the east, and then just south of US 60 at Guadalupe. And so that's really the study area that we're focused on here. And in addition, there's one additional East Valley study, and that's the Arizona Avenue study, and that's where Chandler has interest of joining in and providing some type of high-capacity transit investment connecting to light rail. So what are the differences between the feasibility study and the alternatives analysis? Again, these were run pretty much in parallel, but the Tempe Mesa Streetcar Feasibility Study was just that. We looked just at streetcar and was really a technical analysis. And the goal of that study was to present recommended streetcar corridors. In terms of the methodology, it was, again, a purely technical analysis, and it wasn't as focused in terms of working with the community as the alternatives analysis, because the alternatives analysis was really looking at identifying a single corridor. And we looked at different types of transit that we wanted to talk to and discuss with the community. And those included an enhanced bus option, a streetcar option, and also a light rail option. So in addition to the technical work we did, we also engaged the community in providing input on that study. High level, the process was pretty much the same between the two studies. We started with a whole list of corridors. We took them through an initial analysis, where we further refined those corridors in what we call the Tier 2 evaluation, so looking at more specifics. And then here we are today with the ultimate recommendations. So this shows you quickly kind of really the overlap of the community outreach. Again, the Tempe Mesa Streetcar Study, we did provide input or provide information to the public through various means, including a web page that was updated quarterly and along with fact sheets. And for the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis, we really did make a conscious effort to engage the community. We met with 12 key stakeholders within the study area. Some of those included Mesa Community College, Mekong Plaza, also the Banner Hospital. We had 2 online surveys along with the webpage, and we also did have fact sheets. But in addition, we had 2 public meetings, as you see there on the bottom left, in 2017 and 2018, focused on the Fiesta District, but we included information on the other study that was going on. And we've also presented to the Transportation Advisory Board, and here we are today at the City Council. In terms of the overall Tier 1 evaluation, as I mentioned, for the Tempe Mesa study, we really started with 13 corridors that were pared down to 5. And for the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis, we had 11 corridors within the study area that we carried 4 additional corridors through. For the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis, we really had 4 variations of a pretty much similar corridor. In working with the community and working through our technical analysis, we saw there were some specific destinations that were desired to be connected, including Riverview, the Asian District, the Fiesta District, and downtown Mesa. So that you can see here that's represented by these 4 alternatives that are shown. The ultimate recommendation for the Fiesta District was this true connection between or amongst those 4 corridors that I had mentioned. So this shows you a map of the recommendation of the corridor itself extending along Dobson Road, touching on Southern Avenue, and then ultimately connecting to downtown Mesa along Country Club. What those dots you see there on this map here essentially represent potential station locations. The purple dots represent if we were to do some type of, say, light rail option or bus rapid transit option. And we have these triangles showing if we were to do some type of streetcar, in which case you'd like to have more stops. So it just kind of shows you an area of where those stations could be, generally connecting major destinations and connecting transit points. Tempe Mesa streetcar was a little bit different. As I mentioned, the ultimate outcome was to present multiple corridors, and these show you the 5 corridors that are recommended as part of that study. And the 2 really in Mesa, one is the extension along Rio Salado Parkway, connecting to the current streetcar project under construction, and that's shown by the dark blue line there in the upper left-hand corner. It's a pretty straightforward next logical step to connect along Rio Salado to Riverview. And as you can see, the technical analysis also showed that the recommendation from the alternatives analysis, the Dobson Southern Country Club, also fared as one of those top 5 recommended corridors. And this shows you how those 5 corridors ranked. And so the 2 corridors in Mesa, the Rio Salado East, we called it, and also the Dobson Southern Country Club alternatives ranked in the top 3 from that streetcar study. So there are some steps that we wanted to present as part of the Fiesta District Alternatives Analysis Study. And they focus around transit and land use. So some of the near-term transit recommendations we have on the left side include extending the Route 48 from Tempe Marketplace to Riverview, enhancing the frequency of service along Route 30 and 45 along University and Broadway, and to potentially implement some type of uniquely branded local circulator that mimics that recommended corridor connecting Riverview to the Mesa Community College to downtown Mesa. And so that can be kind of an initial starting point to kind of start to build that ridership and build that familiarity with transit. And in terms of land use, Mesa's doing a great job of integrating transit-oriented development into the general plan, so to continue to do that. Continued coordination with developers to see where there's opportunities to integrate some type of transit-oriented development. And then also to work with developers and encourage developers along the selected corridors to look at elements to incorporate for transit use in the future. And with that, Jody and I are happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's begin with Mr. Luna.
Hey, Jody, in terms of funding, how is this going to be funded if we begin to move in that direction? First of all, I think it's a great idea. I think, and then maybe you might want to explain how is that different from the light rail? I know the light rail is very costly. Tell me the cost differential between having light rail. It doesn't make sense to have light rail, and I support that. I think the streetcar is certainly a lot more doable and more practical. So maybe if you could just touch on those.
Sure. Mayor, Councilmember Luna. The one thing that these studies are very different than how we have approached development of the previous light rail corridors. Previously, we would go from a study like this into the environmental evaluation, into design and construction. And these studies were just to put us in a position to request money for future funding. So there is no regional money available at this time to go beyond these studies for an environmental assessment and go, because we would need a Prop 400E extension, some kind of extension to be able to fund the capital part of these projects. So this is, again, just to put us kind of in that position. As far as the costs go for these, yes, light rail is construction-wise, light rail is a more costly endeavor than streetcar. We looked at costs for these projects because they're so far out in the future and there were so many contingencies at looking at this. We kind of rated them a little different, waiting to get closer to the actual part where we'd move them forward to be able to identify the costs, where streetcar is kind of on a scale of 1 to 3 is a 2 and light rail is a 3. We have some, adding into that, we do have some different construction challenges on these than we've had in the past, where going under freeways, we're going to have to go under a railroad crossing. We're going to have to construct a grade separated crossing on Dobson. So those are all reasons why Valley Metro gets more current construction costs on projects that include those, why we kind of left the costs for these right now kind of open-ended until we get closer.
You know, as we move towards the future when we have some kind of driverless transportation, it's hard to predict what's going to be happening in the future. Certainly we want to minimize costs, but we probably need to look at other alternatives as we move forward. There may be some kind of driverless or vehicle that is on battery or doesn't use any, there's no carbon emissions associated with it. So I'm sure you're looking at all those things as you move to the future, but we don't have a crystal ball. We know it's going to come. And so I'm sure you're looking at that as we move forward.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. We're fortunate to have the chairman of Valley Metro on our council. Frankie, what can you add to this?
Hey, Mayor. Just a couple comments, but before that, Jody, can you outline what's happening as far as in the next 10 years, what Phoenix and Tempe are doing as far as adding more line, and so the importance of just seeing the whole region. When light rail was started, some of the complaints were just connected into just the downtowns to Phoenix and Tempe and up to Sycamore. But now I think with what Phoenix is doing, adding South Central, perhaps I-10 corridor, what Tempe has done with streetcar, just the connectedness that we will see over the next 10 years is going to jump tremendously here in the region.
Sure, Mayor, Councilmember Heredia. So Phoenix has two major projects underway right now. One is called the South Central Extension, and that extends light rail from where it comes into downtown Phoenix and extends it south on Central Avenue, about 4 or 5 miles, I think it is. And then in addition to that, they are extending their alignment on the north end from its current end of the line up into Metro Center, another 2 miles into Metro Center, so creating that. Those two projects are expected to be done around 2023, 2024. And then there is another project that's been underway moving forward, extending light rail again from downtown Phoenix to the state capitol. So creating more of that interconnectivity with the region where you have options to be able to move around. And when those lines get going, there'll be a lot more ability to move through the area. In addition, the Tempe streetcar project should open within the next year, creating another way connection through from one end of light rail in through ASU and around down to the Tempe Town Lake area.
Yeah, and just to add, this kind of the West Mesa portion piece, I think would, I see it as an opportunity to add to that connectivity, especially along Dobson, where we've seen some growth. We named the Asian district along Dobson, but also some jobs that come in there. Dexcom, the medical supplier, has over 1,000 jobs on Broadway and Dobson. Pre-COVID, Santander had close to 800 jobs on Southern and Dobson, close there. And 24/7 on Country Club, had over 3,000 jobs, people going to that campus. So we've seen some growth there, and I think there's future growth that could be happening around Fiesta Mall and other parts of this corridor. So it is definitely an important outlook that we should have as far as how do we add these these connectivity points to this region. And I think towards Councilmember Luna's point, as far as autonomous, being on the Valley Metro Board, what we're seeing across the board that these, the new technology are coming on are definitely the potential for add-ons to a system like this will enhance the ridership potential for the future. I don't think anything supplants each other. I think it would be about connecting our plan and connecting folks to where they want to, end up at. And the more opportunities that, we can have people to come to, this particular part of town with these types of options, the better for us for these parts of towns, right? How we can lift them up. Because what we've seen as far as the struggling part of Mesa. And so, I'm definitely looking forward for further conversations as we have. And I think Jody mentioned, or with the plan mentioned around, what we can start with, maybe a pilot program along this corridor to see let's, build up the ridership or get people used to using transportation options for this corridor. So thank you staff for all the hard work. And these projects take a long time, and I think starting now is going to be important for us to build these options for the future.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Jody, in your analysis, I know you're just doing transportation routes, but is there ever done an economic impact study for these types of routes, how it benefits us as a community, sales tax wise or otherwise? Is that ever done?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Freeman, I don't think there's been one specific on a project for a while since we did the original one. But Valley Metro does do an economic impact analysis of the amount of public sector dollars that went into a light rail extension to what it's leveraged for private sector dollars in there. And I think the last one I saw, it was about 1.4 billion of public sector dollars to around 8 billion private sector dollars impacted along the current light rail alignment.
Okay. Well, that's good. To me, some of this is going to be a hard sell because I'm just curious, what's the ridership now on the light rail that we have in Mesa during the pandemic? Has it decreased, increased, or stayed the same?
The ridership transit-wise across the region and across the country has decreased because of the pandemic. And that was out of our control. Prior to the pandemic, the light rail ridership in Mesa was I know there's been discussion and talk that light rail ridership is decreasing in the valley. And in Mesa, I can tell you, our light rail ridership has been holding steady and slightly increasing prior to the pandemic. So we do see a desire for our residents to have an access to public transit, and especially this kind of public transit, where we haven't seen decreases in it.
Okay. I guess just on a sidebar conversation, where I'm concerned with is, I was really excited about our Riverview, the Union project, and it's still a great build out for Class A office space. The mayor and I, Mr. Brady, and our economic director, Bill, we went and took a tour there, but there's concern about whether those other buildings may or may not be built in the future because of office space taking a different turn. Not saying they won't be built, but to me, in my district and neighboring council member Heredia's, it was going to bring 6,500 new jobs is what we've advocated. And I have concern that whether that will materialize, it may take years now to do that. but creating a streetcar in that area, Riverview, I just have to learn more about it to whether not to support something like that. But I appreciate all your analysis, and I look forward for more information. So thank you very much, Jody.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Freeman, if I could just add, that's part of the benefit of why these studies are a little different than what we've done in the past. Is in the past, we would be going right into moving forward with the program. And these studies at least give us a framework. And like I said, we would need a Prop 400, some kind of funding from a future regional sales tax to support this. So we have some time to where that would be programmed to really see how the economy balances out post-COVID, if you will. I don't anticipate these projects being built anytime in the next, 5 to 10 years. So we have some time to see how that pans out a little bit more.
Thank you. And to Jody's point, I mean, Prop 400 expires 2025, and we're talking about something that would be part of the Prop 400 extension. So it couldn't be constructed probably for, 2030 is probably very optimistic to think that any of these projects would actually break ground, excuse me, before then. So I share your concern, Mr. Freeman, about the short-term impact of how real estate is going to be developed in this corridor. On the other hand, we've got 2,000 housing units that are now actually being constructed or developed along the light rail corridor, and the character of West Mesa is going to change. It's going to be a newer, more urban, more dense part of our city that I think it's going to be. I have difficulty imagining that future councils aren't going to really see it, have a part of Mesa. That part of Mesa is going to be very compatible with transit, I think. But anyway, Councilmember Duff.
Yes, on the Prop 400 extension, is that anticipated to be brought forward in our 22 election or 24? What's the timeline for the proposition to be on the ballot?
Great question, Councilmember Duff. Does Mr. Butler happen to be in the room? Mr. Brady,
Mr.
maybe
Butler
he could.
Is working his way up to the microphone.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. It's still to be determined. The MAG Regional Council had initially set a target of ideally taking it to the voters in the fall, in November of 22, but with uncertainty still surrounding the state legislature and authorizations, it could very likely slip to 2024 before this goes before the voters. But work is continuing aggressively on this at the policy level. I know Mr. Brady sits in probably hours of meetings every week about this. The mayor and Councilmember Heredia, both via their roles at MAG and Valley Metro, are being briefed on this constantly. So Councilmember Duff, there's a lot of work occurring, but I think the actual date that the voters will see the extension is still very much up in the air right now.
Great. Okay, thank you. The other comment I want to make is we have a tremendous concern about the affordability of living, as we've seen rent and home prices increase dramatically. And by being able to have transportation alternatives from owning a car, which owning a car to many is actually a burden. It can cost up to $500 a month. If you think about a payment and insurance and the maintenance. And if we can choose to be able to get around for employment and shopping, the things that we need to do without a car and having that connectivity throughout the valley, then having a car is a choice and not a burden. And I think we need to work in that direction. It also reduces our need for parking, as we have an increased number of people living in the downtown area. The parking conversation always comes up. And if we're able to get around the valley, get around especially our East Valley areas without having a car, we don't have to allocate as much parking to our developments and where our living is. And parking doesn't really produce, unless you charge for parking, it is not even economically viable for our city. It's much better if that space is in living units, making housing more affordable and lowering the cost if there's more units can be built on a place, or maybe that extra store or retail center, or so it's a more effective use of the property, as well as a better impact on our environment, a lesser impact on our environment with less emissions, which is our number one polluter in our air in Phoenix. And the Phoenix Valley area, we are one of the worst air quality places in the nation, which is very sad. And I think that is another reason to work in the direction of having connectivity through alternative forms of transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Duff. I do note that this is agendized to provide direction. Jody, Mr. Brady, do we need to express some sort of consensus about our enthusiasm for this plan? Or is there any specific questions you need answered from us?
Mayor, I don't think at this time. I think I just want to give recognize what we're seeing out, we're looking out into the future and the opportunities as we work through future of transportation funding, that this would be one of those projects that might be considered in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Well, Council, any other questions regarding this topic? All right. Well, thank you, Jody. Thank you to Mag for the presentation. I think it's very useful information, and as we work on the extension of Prop 400 here over the next year or two, I think this will certainly be good information to help us come up with a transportation plan for what we want that extension to look like. So thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 3.8, to acknowledge receipt of minutes of various boards and committee. This is the Economic Development Advisory Board meeting from October the 6th. Is there a motion to that effect?
Mayor and council? Mayor,
oh, yes.
Also, there was 2B.
You skipped 2B.
There's 2B, the appointments.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. My eyes are skipping over the agenda today.
Yeah,
Item 2B is appointment to the Economic Development and Housing and Community Development Advisory Boards. So thank you to those individuals that I've asked to serve on those boards. I'm sorry that I skipped the agenda item. Is there, Council, any questions regarding these boards? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Luna, are you making a motion for the appointments?
Yes, Mayor, I move for approval.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Vice Mayor Freeman, how do you vote?
And keep this going, but this.
I'm sorry, is staff telling me something that I may have overlooked?
Aye.
All right, I'm getting some feedback, but I know we'll just proceed with the vote unless somebody stops me. All right, Mr. Freeman votes aye. Mr. Whitaker?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Heredia?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Duff?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Luna?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Thompson?
Aye.
Thank you. I vote aye as well, so that passes unanimously. Now, let's talk about receipts of minutes of various boards and committees. Is there a motion to accept the Economic Development Advisory Board meeting of October the 6th? Thank you, Mr. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Duff. We'll do a roll call vote again. Vice Mayor Freeman, how do you vote? We'll come back to Mr. Freeman. Councilmember Heredia.
Aye.
Councilmember Whitaker, thank you. Councilmember Heredia.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Duff.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Luna.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Freeman, do you want to vote on this motion? All right. Well, I vote aye, so that passes with 6 aye votes. The next item on our agenda is the current event summary, including meetings and conferences attended. I know I've seen several of you this past week at a lot of great events. Mr. Luna, let's begin with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to let people know that Dr. Lim, who has been a great community member, has volunteered a number of of committees and has done a great job in the city of Mesa, was nominated. She's a finalist for the Phoenix Business Journal Healthcare's Hero Lifetime Award. And I know, Mary, you were there to congratulate her, and we're hoping that she does get the award. But I do want to acknowledge Dr. Lim. She has served on countless boards here in the city of Mesa, the Mesa Arts Center board. She's active in the Mesa Community College Performing Arts board. She actually left an endowment there to support those activities. We together with Councilmember Duff, she served with us in the IDEA Museum board, and just countless boards. She's been a great community volunteer, and she's served providing medical care for many of our community members, our migrant workers throughout the city of Mesa. So I did want to acknowledge that. We're hoping that she does get the award because she is a great community member. So again, that's Dr. Lim. This past Saturday, along with you, Mayor, and Councilmember Duff and Vice Mayor Freeman, and I hope that they jump in and say, we attended the Oakwood Creative Care Tailgate Party, which was actually a lot of fun. It was a unique opportunity to get together and to support that organization via tailgate party over at Sloan Park. So that was a lot of fun, and it was very creative. And they had a stage band. They had some food that they delivered from one of our vendors here in the city of Mesa. And so it was a lot of fun. And again, we celebrate that Mesa is a dementia-friendly city in the city of Mesa. And then yesterday, I participated in the East Valley Veterans Day Parade. I can't say what a great event that was. I'm sure Mayor, Councilmember Duff, and Vice Mayor Freeman are going to also speak on that. But what a creative way to have a parade. And I do have to acknowledge the city of Mesa and the Veterans Day Parade Committee for putting that together. I think we were the only one maybe in the Valley that did it, but it was a unique way of having a parade. And I'll let my other colleagues speak on that, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that. Also, I want to let people know the Mesa Arts Center Foundation received a grant from Boeing Company again, supporting our veterans locally. Boeing continues to support a lot of activities here in the state of Mesa, and we're particularly pleased with what they do for our veterans. The funding provides pathway for veterans and service members to use a studio arts experience to find a supportive community, to help with stress relief, work towards overall health and wellness, and pursue careers, interests in art making. So again, we want to thank Boeing for their contributions here in the city of Mesa, particularly to our veterans and their families. Since 2017, Boeing has donated $41.6 million in support of veterans programs globally. So we want to certainly acknowledge that as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. And I've had the privilege, I amen to everything you said about those events, but I just want to say again, thank you to Boeing. That Veterans Arts Program is so appreciated. I've had the opportunity to go to some of the events over there and see how impactful that has been on some of the kind of at-risk struggling veterans and how therapeutic and appreciated those arts classes are. So thank you to Boeing for doing that. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, again, make another shout out to the folks at Eastmark, the Eastmark Leadership class, and the alumni from the Eastmark Leadership class for putting on a wonderful Veterans Day program yesterday morning. So that's where I spent my morning, was out at Eastmark. They had a wonderful guest speaker and really showed appreciation to the veterans that live within Eastmark. And they even hung out afterwards and did a service project where they were putting together treat bags to send to troops. Another great program put together by Eastmark and the community, and is supporting our veterans.
Great. Yes. Sounds like a great program. Let's go with Councilmember Duff.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was also at the East Valley Veterans Day Parade in downtown Mesa yesterday. And since we did the reverse parade of people driving through the exhibits while the exhibits were static, I was wondering how many people got the word on that, even how many cars would show up. I'm thinking if we got 50, 100 cars, that would be great. Well, I ended up staying the whole duration and waiting for about 3 hours, and there's still another hour worth of car coming through. There's thousands of cars. And Vice Mayor Freeman was with me on the old fire truck saying hello. And he would often ask, how long did you have to wait in line? And they're like, usually about an hour. But they said, it was well worth it. We're glad to do it. Everybody was so happy to get out and be able to, show respect and appreciation for our veterans. And having the drive-through, allowing that safe interaction, it was well appreciated by everybody. And even that hour had to be forever waiting in line with the kids in the back. Everybody thought it was very worthwhile. And I appreciate all the work that went into it by the people of the Association for the Veterans Parade, as well as all the city staff and public safety that were there giving out water and hot dogs and keeping everybody well and happy. And I appreciate all the efforts that went on by all. And of course, our veterans, we salute them all for their service and sacrifice that are given to our country for the freedoms that we enjoy. Also, backing up to last week, I sent in on Achieve 60 AZ webinar that looked at employer-sponsored education, post-secondary education, and tuition reimbursement to help us achieve our goal of 60% of our residents having post-secondary education by 2030. And employers getting involved and putting up the monies that they can reimburse their employees helps our statewide goal. Also, it helps them with retaining employees and readying them for promotion. So there's benefits all the way around. And I appreciate the conversation and encourage all employers to look at that, incorporating that benefit into their policies. Also, I attended I welcome Old Brick House Vintage Market back to downtown. They had moved out and now they reopened into a larger space. They only open on the second weekend of every month. I went to the preview on the other night. It was filled with Christmas decor and made me want to buy everything so I can start decorating. But they're continuing through this weekend. We welcome them and I encourage everybody to check out all their beautiful decor that they have. And we'll continue with their regular home decor in the following months on the second weekend of every month. I was at the Oakwood Creative Care Ultimate Joy Tailgate party and fundraiser, as well with the other council members and the mayor. And the mayor, I think you'll go more into about Mesa being a dementia-friendly city, and that is important for our city, and we want to recognize that as far as an amenity of being in Mesa. And they also had a trunk decorating contest in the tailgate, right? And that was lots of fun, lots of different themes. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, I had my community conversation with Councilmember Thompson, and we will be discussing the utility rate proposals with staff. So residents are welcome to register on the Zoom call in which we look at what those rate proposals are and any questions and what that means to you and have that dialogue. It's from 4 to 5 this afternoon and you have to register in advance. There is an event on Facebook, I know on my page as well as probably as others, to find that advanced registration. And we look forward to the conversation with the public as we introduce the new rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Duff. Council, other items under this agenda item. Mr. Freeman, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mayor. My colleagues, I just enjoy being with you guys and gal. The Oakwood event was quite windy and a little chilly, right? I mean, everybody stayed in their cars except for those brave souls at the Oakwood event staff. And regardless, I was surprised at the tailgate party. But moving on, I appreciated being at the Veterans Day Parade. And again, Councilmember Duff and I stayed to the very end. So I had to leave, but I heard a count of about 2,800 cars, and they just kept coming. So again, kudos to Teresa Carmichael and her staff and everybody that put that together. It was phenomenal. So again, just enjoyed working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll say amen to again, a lot of the events that you just described. I was with the council at that. I was really surprised at the success of the East Valley Veterans Parade. Congratulations to everyone in the city who's figured out how to have these innovative ways of doing things during the pandemic. And this reverse parade was genius. I assumed it would be a smaller crowd than normal, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had more people participate than even in a normal year because of as you described, the huge number of cars that waited in line to be a part of that parade. So congratulations to. And also the Oakwood event, as was indicated, again, very innovative. It was essentially a drive-in movie format, which I thought was brilliant. I'll accept Councilmember Duff's invitation to talk about the dementia-friendly program that the City of Mesa has undertaken with Oakwood and with some other great partners. Very similar to our autism-friendly certification that we're doing. I think this is going to be very much appreciated. There are countless thousands of individuals and families in our community that are impacted, by dementia and Alzheimer's, and so Mesa doing this is just makes wonderful sense. I think every city in the country, will quickly realize the need to be more attuned to the needs of that part of our population. So proud that the Mesa is leading the way on that issue, very similar to the autism issue. And something that hasn't been mentioned yet is I was, again, looking for non-live virtual ways to celebrate, during the pandemic. One of my favorite events of the year is the RAF memorial event that happens at the City of Mesa Cemetery. I was reminded, given Mr. Freeman's background, it's always the Sunday before Veterans Day. I assumed we wouldn't be able to do that this year, but thank you to the folks at the CAF and the Daughters of the British Empire and the other folks that put that event together every year. It was done in a format to be shown later on social media. I was honored to participate, but would just anxious to put that on everyone's radar. Hopefully next year you can come and participate in that event live. Again, this commemorates the 23 RAF airmen who died during training, learning to become pilots to fight in World War II. And there's a very special part of our cemetery that is occupied by those RAF pilots. So that was a great event, as always. So we had a pretty busy week at council. Anything else you'd like to share with us under this agenda item? All right, Mr. Brady, can you help us with our schedule of future meetings?
Yes, Mayor, we'll see you on Monday for the study session and the council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Mr. Luna, seconded by Mr. Thompson. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Anyone opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.